Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started. First and foremost, my apologies. I am a bit under the weather today, so I will not have my camera on this evening, but I assure you will not negatively impact our meeting. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. I just uploaded a copy of the agenda to chat for anyone who would like to follow along, and we will get started here. If this is your first time joining us, we do ask that you remain muted unless you're presenting or asking a question, just so we can ensure that there is no feedback. If I notice someone may have forgotten to mute themselves or remute themselves, I may do that for you, just to make sure that everyone is able to be heard. So we'll start with our first item on the agenda tonight, which is a treasurer's report from our treasurer, Eric. This will also include the year-end report for 2022. Eric, the floor is yours. Oh, you are muted, Eric.
Thank you. So yeah, we can go ahead and start with the year-end report. Do you want to go ahead and pull that up, Jess?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you going to share that from your side? I don't have that on my screen.
Then give me a second to get that pulled up. Okay, here we go. Let me now figure out how to share again. Okay, can everybody see that?
Sure can.
Okay, excellent. So this is the income statement report for last year. So basically our P&L. You can see that we had a good amount of residential memberships. Also had a decent amount of business memberships. You can see the breakout here between both of those membership categories. I will say that the business memberships was largely driven by the return of the garden tour. So we were excited to see that come back in. From a donations perspective, you can also see here the breakout. I will say that Amazon Smile has discontinued their program, so we will not be expecting to see any more of those going forward. So for anyone that did have an Amazon Smile account linked to us, I would definitely encourage you, if you want to maybe switch your Kroger rewards over, that's another great way to continue to support the association through your just normal giving or normal spending patterns. Let's see, continuing on, the grant funding was really just related to how we fund our scholarship funds. Then the summer festival, you can see we brought in, with the return of that at our in-person festival, we did receive a lot of income there. And then so we had a combined income for a little over $27,000 for the year. From an expense side, you can see our kind of usual lease and rent and utilities. Those are pretty standard. The insurance is a little bit more than it had typically been the last few years, because we did have an extra rider for the festival on top of the normal general liability insurance that we carry throughout the year. Supplies and marketing also largely driven by the increase of our return to normal programming. You can see some of our additional expenses there. The grant expense was also largely contributed to how we expend the scholarship disbursements, and then we had a couple other grants that did receive some expenditures as well. And then the 25,000, almost 26,000 for the year in expenses, but it did bring us up for the first time in, I want to say, close to 4 years that we've been in the black by the end of the year. So definitely excited to see that. Any questions on the year-end report? Okay, excellent. So then I will move on to how we finished the year-end from a balance sheet perspective. So here you can see that we finished the year with about 8,500 in checking, a little over 12,000 in savings, and then petty cash at 1,200. I would say then calling out on some of the our funds and grant balances, you can see here the scholarship fund is showing negative, but once I trued that up, actually I believe should be good there. And then I don't think there's really anything else noteworthy to call out there. Any questions on the balance sheet report for the end of the year? Okay, moving on to January's. So here we go for January balance sheet. So again, a little bit more in checking. I'll go through where we received some of that money this last month, and then you can see our balance and our fund and grant balances there as well. I do also see the scholarship fund did not get trued up, so I'll take a look at that and hopefully have that fixed by next month. If there are no questions here, I'll switch over to, sorry, I didn't get this actually run yet. The income statement for last month. So here we continue to get in a fair number of memberships, both from the residential and business perspective. We did have our normal lease and rent and utilities, and then we had a little bit of Facebook advertising as well. And that's it for the month of January. Any questions from anyone regarding any of these reports? All right, Jess, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Eric. All right, thanks everyone. If you do have any questions that you think of later, you can always email Eric, treasurer@merionvillage.org. But thank you, Eric, for keeping our books so nice and tidy. Okay, we're going to move on. We have one zoning presentation tonight, and I will turn the floor over to our zoning chair, Tate. Before I do, if this is the first time you've attended one of these presentations, we handle things a little bit differently than previously. We'll have a total of a 15-minute period, 5 minutes where we'll ask the applicant to present on the variances that they are requesting, 5 minutes to collect questions from folks who are in attendance about those variances. Tate will actually type your questions onto the screen so we can gather them, and then a 5-minute period at the end where we will ask the applicant to respond to all of the questions rather than responding one at a time as those questions are asked. So we hope it'll streamline the process a bit better. I'll also post in chat a link to our online ballot if you are a current member of the association who has renewed for the 2023 year. And if you are a new member who has paid dues after January 10th of this year, I will ask you to vote tonight, please. You'll be able to complete that ballot at your leisure once you've heard the presentations, and then we will gather those at the end of the presentation and ask that everyone complete voting by that time. So Tate, go right ahead, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jess. Like she said, we have one presentation to this evening. It's 202 East Minhoff. I do see Kyle here. And then Kyle, is it just going to be you, or is David joining us as well?
It's just going to be me tonight.
Okay, perfect. I'll let you have the floor.
Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to. If not, we can get you permission.
Let's see. Does that come up?
Yes.
Let me just move this out of the way on mine. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Green. I'm with Gunzelman Architecture and Interiors. Our project tonight is at 202 East Minhoff Street. Existing on the site is a single-family house on Minhoff and a 2-car garage on Nursery Lane, shown here. We're not proposing anything with the single-family house. We're proposing to build a second level on the garage and turning the garage into a carriage house. The footprint here shown in gray is the existing footprint of the garage. So we're not proposing to expand the footprint at all. We are just proposing to build on top of the garage. So none of the setbacks or all the setbacks and all the variances will be existing conditions mostly, and I'll go through those. And we included some preliminary elevations just to sort of show what that might look like. Again, the first floor is already built. We would just be building on top. So something like this. So I am going to switch over to the variances. Let's see here. All righty. I'll just read through these and explain them briefly. The first one is to permit 2 detached dwelling units on the same parcel. And that's the single family house and then the carriage house. And that is the use of the carriage house and Nick and Melissa are on here, are on the call as well if you have any questions, but they're using it as living space to expand their living space in their home. So I'm sure that's going to be a question that's going to come up, but just wanted to say that. So this is considered a separate dwelling unit, even with that intent. So this variance is to permit 2 detached dwelling units on the lot. Again, number 2, since that's considered a second dwelling unit, it increases the required off-street parking spaces from 2 to 4. And so we would still just have the 2 in the garage that are existing. So that variance reduces it from 4 to 2. The next 2 are existing conditions in the for an older neighborhood. A lot of these the lot width requirement is a 50-foot lot, which most of the lots in Merion Village don't meet this. So we're required to include this in our variance list. The second one is square footage of the lot. Again, most of the lots don't meet the 6,000 square feet per dwelling unit. So this is a variance to sort of correct that. The next one is fronting for a carriage house, not for a dwelling unit not to be fronted onto a public street like mid-off. Obviously, the carriage house is at the rear of the site where it's most appropriate. So it is on Nursery Lane. And that's a typical carriage house variance that we would see. Maximum side yards required for the carriage house. When you do the calculation, you're required 6.74 feet total, both side yards combined, and we have 6 feet. So that amounts to about 4 inches on either side. And again, we're not changing the footprint of the side at all. Those are existing, existing side yard condition. Another one is the minimum side yard for the main house. Since this is part all on the same lot, we're required to bring that up. So the existing house was built with a 0-foot setback. Obviously, we're not proposing anything along that, so that's just an existing variance that we're required to include. And then rear yard, there's a rear yard requirement for every dwelling unit of 25% of the lot area. So by putting the carriage house in the rear, the existing house would now have a 22% instead of 25% rear yard. And of course, the carriage house would have a 0% since it's located at the alley. So those are the variances. Happy to answer any questions anyone has on this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. We appreciate the presentation. If you want to stop sharing your screen, I'll go ahead and share mine, and I'll have the variance requests up that you just went through. Thank you for doing that. And then I'll type any questions. So does anybody have any questions? And like I just mentioned before, I will type the questions. We'll get all the questions typed out, and then we will answer those. So it'll be a question portion and an answer portion.
Not seeing any hands raised just yet. If anyone does have a question and you're not able to use the hand raise feature, please feel free to unmute yourself and just let us know you have a question.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, still not seeing any hands raised. No questions in chat so far.
And Jess also put the link in the voting link in the chat.
I did. And if you're by chance attending from a different device, if you can't access the link easily, you can also access the link to the voting directly from our homepage, merionvillage.org. There's just a link at the bottom that mentions voting at meetings, and you can access it that way if that's easier. Okay, David.
So I'm just curious. For number 8, why does the yard reduce from 25% to 22% if the footprint doesn't change? I'm sorry, a math thing I'm not understanding, but I'm curious about it.
Do you want me to answer that now or?
We don't have any other let me just ask folks, this is the only question we have. Does anyone else have any other questions to add to that before we move into the answer portion? Okay, I think we're safe to go on to answering.
There's an exception in the zoning code where a garage can be in the rear yard, so you're able to consider garage square footage as part of your rear yard. But since we're turning this into technically from a zoning standpoint a dwelling unit, we're unable to do that anymore. So it reduces it by a little bit.
Ah, fascinating. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come through. So folks, if you are here and you're a member, please do follow that link to get your votes in. We'll wait here just a couple of moments to allow everyone to vote, and then I'll do one last check before I read out the votes that we received. Okay, we've had 7 votes come in. I'll give everyone just another minute here, and then we will close the voting. Okay, is there anyone that has not yet been able to submit their votes? All right, in that case, we received a total of 9 votes. I will let everyone know that we will verify everyone who voted just to make sure that memberships are active before passing these numbers along to the Southside Area Commission. That'll be our last step in the process. But for now, we did receive a total of 9 votes across all 8 items, and all 8 items were unanimously supported at 100%. So a total of 9 yes votes on all 8 items. So as far as our recommendation is concerned, we will be passing that along to the Area Commission in supporting all 8 variance requests.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Kyle, thank you for being here and presenting. And Tate, as always, thank you for coordinating the process.
Thank you.
Right. And everyone who voted, thank you for participating and getting your votes in. That is very helpful. And we are happy that the process appears to be working smoothly for everyone. So always good to see. Okay, we will move on to our next agenda item. We have kind of a short agenda this evening, so we won't have too many items to go over. But the next thing we want to do is just remind everyone, if you've not yet renewed your membership for 2023, you can do so. If you were a member last year, please renew your membership by the end of this month in order to make sure that you immediately regain voting privileges and are not required to wait an additional 21-day period after you renew at a later date, which would be essentially considering you a new member at that time. So hope that everyone will choose to renew with us again this year. And for those of you who already have, thank you very much. The next item we'd like to talk about is our annual Southside Scholarship Chili Cook-Off. Very excited to be hosting that with Hey Hey again this year. We'll be raising funds for our annual Southside Scholarship. All of the funds raised at that event do go directly toward the scholarship for at least one graduating senior from South High School. Our Vice President Lauren is heading up that committee again and is coordinating with other local folks to start the process of getting applications out 2 students at South. So that will be held on Saturday, March 11th from 12 to 2 p.m. in the back room of the Hey Hey. They're excited to host us and we are excited to be back. You can bring either a vegetarian or a meat chili to submit for the judging if you choose to do so. Otherwise, please come and taste chili. Tasting is $5 for all that you can taste. And then, of course, you'll get an opportunity to vote for the best meat and best vegetarian chilies at the end. And we will be rewarding prizes to the winners of that event. We also hope to have at least some sort of raffle at the event and some other manners of raising funds. So very excited to be hosting again and hope that everyone is able to join us. We'll just briefly touch on committee updates. As far as beautification, we don't have anything current. We are splitting that group kind of into more of a project-based committee. So if you have a specific beautification project that you would like to help spearhead, please let us know and we will start the process of getting something in motion. Nothing new on membership at this time, although we do have a member who is interested in helping us with that. So hoping to see some new interesting information about membership committee soon. And then, of course, social. We have our next Southside, monthly Merion Village Happy Hour. It's the third Thursday Happy Hour on Thursday, February 16th. That will be at Red Brick Tap and Grill. Starts at 6 p.m. And I think those typically last for a couple of hours, depending on how many folks show up. So thanks to Mike Pykuch for organizing those and excited to get folks back out and seeing each other again later this month. Nothing else on zoning. I know that Tate will actually be getting some updates through the city as they go through their kind of zoning rewrite process, and he's going to be able to share those in the future. Tate, we appreciate that, but nothing exactly to share on that just yet. Otherwise, I'll just kind of run through some of the community activities and events that are coming up. If you are familiar with the event that Ganther's Place has hosted for many years now, House Sweet It Is, that will be taking place Saturday, February 11th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Ace Hardware on Parsons, which is actually located in Merion Village. We are excited to be hosting a table again at that event, which is kind of Valentine's Day themed and includes lots of treats and chocolates, opportunity to meet organizations and civics from around the South Side, and also tour some of the new buildings that are constructed by Nationwide Children's and Community Development for All People. So really great event, free to attend, and we hope to see everyone on that day. We, of course, also have our happy hour, which I mentioned, which is Thursday, February 16th, 6 p.m. at Red Brick. The next Southside Area Commission meeting is Tuesday, February 28th, 6:30 to 8 at the Parsons Library. We have our next monthly meeting on Wednesday, March 1st at 7 p.m. held virtually. We hope to have a guest speaker that evening, and once we've confirmed that, we'll be sending out a notice to all members letting you know of who that guest speaker will be and hope that you can certainly join us for that meeting. And then, of course, our Southside Scholarship Chili Cook-Off is Saturday, March 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Hey Hey. Otherwise, our agenda is rather short, and so I'd like to kind of open the floor to questions, community interests, anything that anyone might like to share. Okay. Sounds like that might be it for the evening. Well, if that is the case, I will leave everyone with the fact that we as the board are working on putting together. Oh, Kevin?
I have a quick question for you.
Please, yes.
So I'm currently living at me and my wife are currently living at 391 Siebert Street, and we're renting. And so we've been talking to our landlord, and he's talking about possibly splitting this lot. And if we could maybe build on like the back side of it. How do we even start this whole process? Do we start with you guys? Do we start with Columbus? Do we start with the Southside Commission that you were talking about that you refer these votes to? I just don't even know.
You don't start with us. We are
Okay.
typically looped into the process by the area commission, and they get their information from the city. So once you're working with an architect and you've kind of figured out, what variances you need, since I'm sure there will be variances required,
Right.
your architect will help walk you through that. And then, of course, they will submit the application with you to the city, who will notify the area commission and then our group. And then if you would come and present to us, just like Kyle just did.
Okay, cool. All right. Do you have any questions? All right. That helps a lot. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions or anything they'd like to share? Okay, then I know this was a very short meeting. We really appreciate everyone being here, and we hope to see you next month. We are working on some type of a spring event to celebrate kind of the founding of Merion Village Association, which happened at the end of April back in 1985, and possibly some other ways to engage kids and just something nice and fun for spring that we can all do. So stay tuned for that. And as always, if you're interested in volunteering or joining us in any of our efforts, please let us know. We're always happy to have more hands to help. So thank you all so much for being here and have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Mal. Take care.